didn't get to.
And we are live. What's going on, Crypto Warriors, and welcome back. I don't even know what to call this. This is another Friday No Name Show. World Economic Forum, Davos. We're doing a roundtable today. We're going to be talking about all things Davos. Of course, we have a panel today. I'm mostly, I think, going to be, for the most part, moderating. You all get to hear from me enough. But we got some of our great content creators on. We'll let them go around, introduce themselves for those who haven't met them yet or know about them in their shows. You can introduce yourselves and when your show come out and where people can find you. Do a quick roundtable as I get this tweet going and this stream going to get this chat live. Breezen, go ahead and start it off.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Crypto Warriors is your boy Brazen with the Stack Crypto channel along with Double O. You can find us on YouTube at Stack. What else do we have? We're also on Twitter, StackFin.
And Monday mornings, you doing Bitcoin TA?
Yeah, so we do on Monday mornings. We have a video on the Gentlemen of Crypto channel. Then on Thursdays we go live. We do Bitcoin TA, generally like Bitcoin TA, general Bitcoin update, and just talk about something that we find interesting in the Bitcoin space that week, right? So it could be anything. Yep. And that is every Thursday. Right? What is it? 9 a.m. Eastern time.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And then on Friday you get you get another video, I believe. Something like that.
It's on Friday? I think it's on Thursday.
Ocean, what you got for us, Ocean?
What up? This Ocean, man. I hold down the weekend with a couple of the other warriors. I got a show called Tulip Mania. It's basically me talking about your favorite shit coins and why I hate them. And for right now, I'm stuck on the Tron network, so I'll be bringing you all kind of stuff for you guys to shit off.
Boy, I thought you were pumping Tron. Are you shitting on it?
I mean, like I said, it's one that I use the most. Out of Bitcoin's what I store, but Tron is what I use damn near daily. So I ain't trying to pump it. I'm not trying to give nobody no financial advice, but it's things about Tron I don't like too. So I find the bad about them.
Hey, if you want to know more, make sure you check out Ocean's show. He goes into these deep dives. Including, I think, what is it, USDD right now, which people are talking about because they are the new kid on the block with their APY. So make sure you check that out, folks. L, what you got for us, L?
All right, what's up, everybody? It's L. You probably know me from Crypto and the Caribbean, the show on Saturdays, 6 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. We cover all things crypto and Caribbean related. If you don't know me from there, you might know me from the Gentlemen of Crypto newsletter that all you should be subscribed to by now. If you're not, make sure you get on the gentlemenofcrypto.com. Scroll down to the bottom, type in your email, click subscribe, and that's it. That's all you need to know. Weekly updates. It's hilarious. I'm funny. Trust me. If you haven't seen my stuff before, go check it out.
Hey, listen, I'm actually gonna pull up today's while we're
newsletter. Hey, I didn't know you did the
newsletter. Hey, Trek with 2Ks, what you got for us?
Hey, basically, y'all know what it is at this point. Keeping track of things going on the weekend, and like as y'all been saying for years, as we understood, like they catch you on the weekends and they catch you on the holidays. Monday's about to be a holiday, and we going into the weekend. So I don't know what I'm gonna have for y'all come Monday.
Hey, honestly, you've been my new cheat code too, because half the time I'm just checking your live show to figure out what's up. So it's easy work. All right, I think we got this tweet out again. Let me give some quick shout outs in the chat. I see everybody starting to load up into the chat, so that's cool. What's going on to Kai's? Hello. And that is it. There it is. I forgot these notifications only come out right now, 3 per 24 hours. Ashley K, what's the word? Trying to sneak in at work. Let's get it. Yep. Shout out to Stack Team. They're the ones who suggested this. It was a great suggestion. And they also reminded me that this is Memorial Day weekend. So I know everybody's running around trying to get off work. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight into it. Let's see. And feel free, guys, to share screens as well. First topic that we saw at Davos that was pretty interesting. I'm gonna share the screen and show you this video, but US lawmakers are trying to shut down cryptocurrency. I mean, if we didn't expect it or see it happening already, I think we all kind of saw that writing on the wall. But to kick this thing off first, I guess we'll hear. Let me see if I can actually turn on this sound so you all can hear this short clip we'll play, and then we'll talk about it in a moment. Let's see. Is this the right one? I don't think that's the right one. There it is. What we got? What we got? What we got? Share sound. There we go. Oh, was it Cryptopia the first one?
But some
Yeah, I think
politicians
so.
still think they can stop open source software.
I look for colleagues to join with me in introducing a bill to outlaw cryptocurrency purchases by Americans so that we nip this in the bud, in part because not an awful lot of our international power comes from the fact that the dollar is the standard unit of international finance. Clearing through the New York Fed is critical for major oil and other transactions. And it is the announced purpose of the supporters of cryptocurrency to take that power away from us.
Cryptocurrency represents a litmus test for it reveals how much your government believes in the fundamental freedoms and human rights. Because if they don't trust their own citizens to have control over their own money, about the governments, there's very little about cryptocurrency.
Hey, shout out to Andreas Antonopoulos, the goat of goats right there. He spoke about Bitcoin everywhere around the world. And I fully agree with him. Like, this is the troubling thing to me where we see regulations and everything this environment. I mean, Brad Sherman just came out and said, hey, we need to make sure Americans aren't even buying it because of the strength of the dollar. To me, that shows a lot about what our government thinks about us as citizens. But this is all on the heels, of course, of the WEF and DAVOS. These are some of the representatives representing the United States there. So whoever wants to pick it up first, pick it up. But what are your thoughts on the government not wanting us to buy cryptocurrency and actually pushing this? And what do you think the outcome is going to be, I guess, short and long term? Whoever wants to take that.
All right, I'm gonna jump out. I've been saying this for like months and weeks now, since like last year. It's capital flight controls. They're putting in and they're scaring people in on the surface level of it while they put in the capital flight controls. And we see it across different agencies in relation to the US side of it. I've been saying it since October last year. The OFAC report came out, the IMF report came out on how they look at cryptocurrencies and digital assets. And they were basically given a playbook. You're gonna scare the public, you're gonna scare the businesses, and then you have to put in the regulations that work to either throttle or just totally like downplay the adoption, whether it be through industry or through retail.
I'm with you. So capital flight risk, I think that is a big deal. And you have been screaming that for a long time. Stack, what you all thinking?
Yeah, so I saw that video right before the World Economic Forum, and I just literally could see the play out of that agenda. Because the entire forum, you probably just started seeing a lot of news articles about a lot of fraud, except for JP Morgan. And then they were pushing a lot more other blockchains outside of Bitcoin. And that was, they were bringing in these big schools like MIT, having these great conversations about cryptocurrencies and USDs, stable coins are bad for the space and that's going to impact economies and so on and so forth. So I could see the connection between that video and what was going on during the World Economic Forum.
Ocean, what are your thoughts on it?
I mean, how Zay says you can't ban the snowman, you can't trick the Gucci, you can't out ninja the ninja. It didn't work out for China. I mean, it's just not going to work. It's not something that you can ban. The other ones that are centralized, you can, but I mean, we're talking about an industry that's going to be more and more decentralized as it goes on. And when even at that forum, like there's other players there that have blockchains and NFTs that are introducing, like, Trek was saying, or not, Stacks was saying, I want to say MIT developed the Pi network, or it might've been Harvard. One of those cryptocurrencies that's developing its own blockchain that's more centralized to control this. My mom works at a Fortune 500 company. She's in the boomer era, and they're sending her information about how their company is going to integrate NFTs. and how they're going to integrate a blockchain into their corporation because it's going to help them keep track of products. So the technology that's there, it works. And I feel like it's just more or less them trying to cut off the freedom side of it. The technology is going to be used.
Maintain
Banks are going to have
control,
to use
essentially.
this, cross-border payments, sending remittances, all this type of things like that. It's the traditional system is kind of outdated. And even the gentleman that's on here that does the crypto and law, when he was talking about the executive order that they're bringing out, a lot of the things that they're looking into is like, we're not necessarily banning us using crypto, but y'all probably ain't gonna be able to touch this. So, it is what it is. We're gonna have to see. It's gonna be a wait and see game. I mean, it's gonna be a long kind of thing. It's not gonna happen overnight. And even if it does, again, look at China, look at India, look at all these places that have banned it. It's still going on to an extent. And you also look at countries that start their own CBDCs. Most of them fail. So they're gonna have to come into the fold.
So another one I want to check out is is it already going? It's already going. There we go. I got too many tabs open. I can't get nothing closed and open right now. Media outlets and billionaires talk down on Bitcoin. I want to play this short clip as well to kind of get an idea of what some of the other people are saying outside of just the United States government itself.
More confusing.
Bitcoin's worth about a little bit under $200 billion today. All the gold in the world is worth $8 trillion, and it could become the next gold.
In terms of cryptocurrencies generally, I can say almost with certainty that they will come to a bad ending.
But if Bitcoin is out there and gold is out there, it can be a participant in bringing down the dollar.
I said it's the mother of all bubbles, and is also the biggest bubble in human history.
I think this is a currency that's really going to work.
And there will be other currencies like it that may be even better.
Bitcoin is successful only because of its potential for circumvention, lack of oversight. So it seems to me it ought to be outlawed. It doesn't serve any socially useful function.
This film.
My thing when it comes to all these this correspondence and talk on Bitcoin and crypto, like literally look at who's talking. Like, I mean, half of the panel, like half of these 3 to 6 people we're looking at are literally, and not to be ageist, but they're over the age of 60 or 70. And they're dictating literally to everyone else about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, of course, with the exception of people who've made their money in modern times, like Sir Richard Branson. I mean, the rest of these folks made their money damn near when laws were invented where other people couldn't make money and compete with them. With the exception of Richard Branson, who's the most forward-thinking one, they haven't even made their money in modern times. But in general, I know how most of you already feel, but L, start us off. What are your thoughts on some of these billionaires bashing Bitcoin, supporting it? You have the argument I actually heard again recently from another institution was what this guy said about this guy right here in the middle to the right of Richard Branson. Essentially, someone else at the institution was like, people are just using it to circumvent the government and da-da-da. And as I told the person, I'm like, you're rich. Like, you don't understand the need to use it. You don't have a need to use it, which is why you understand. But L, lead us off. What are your thoughts on some of these comments here?
I'm getting tired of people listening to these 2006 Motorola Razor using old fogies, trying to, like, they don't. For me, this is one of the main driving forces for me when I push towards self-education and people learning the space itself. Because once you get people to understand the technology, like how it works, forget what anyone else tells you. Look at it yourself and see how this stuff works, how it's designed. You'll see that Warren Buffett, he doesn't even invest in technology, bro. Why are we listening to a man who's against modern civilization in a new digital asset class? Something that the government hasn't even fully classified yet he somehow, I wouldn't take all of the Bitcoin in the world for $25. Really? I mean, on paper, that you don't even have to believe in it. On paper, how does that not make sense? How is that not the best deal? So it it just reinforces that need to not just drive adoption, because adoption's coming regardless. It's what the adoption's going to look like, what that's going to look like from a regulatory standpoint, what it's going to look like on a retail standpoint. But I mean, yeah, man, we just stop listening. Don't listen to us. Don't listen to them. Learn how to do the research yourself. That's the utmost important thing in all of this.
I'm with you. I feel like a lot of people who hate on it, disagree with it, so on and so forth, is only for this. Is like, have you actually A, read the white paper, and B, downloaded a wallet at the very least? And usually it's like no on both of those. So it's just, they're going off of hearsay. The problem is they're talking to the entire planet when they do it. I did put a link in the chat also. If anybody else wants to call in who's in the chat and wants to offer their 2 Satoshis, feel free as well. We want to make sure we open this up as well. Ron B, what's up? Crystal Mendoza, Parabolic P, Infinite Blink. Can the US dollar be backed by Bitcoin? What are you guys' thoughts on that?
No.
No. Wait, who said no?
I said no.
Get it, Track. Send up a crypto blood day. Let's get it.
no, what's it?
Hey, I invited him to the show because, you know, I saw some topics. I was like, oh yeah, I gotta mess with CB on this one.
So me and Blood still butt heads on certain things. So it ain't all like, you know, we on the same train together on certain things. But why I say no is because at this point, if you look at what any of the governments, as far as how they deal with their economic setup, no one wants to be limited by a deflationary asset. No one's going to like work for that at a government, like, hey, this is the system that we want to work with, that we could see, that we could like, what's the word, build out and scale economically. And if you look at how industry has developed over what? Since we really were able to bring in debt in the financial, like the banking system, right? Where you didn't have any cap based on the hard asset side of it. That's what, the last 100 or so, 125, 50 years. Nobody trying to go at the government level and looking at it as an economic thing of being able to scale and power and production. Nobody trying to go backwards on that. Just saying.
What are some thoughts?
I say, yeah, if you're trying to throw away your money.
Wait, the US dollar can only be backed by Bitcoin if you're trying to throw away your money?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
If you take Luna, I don't know him, just the most.
We said Bitcoin to be clear, but go ahead.
But Luna's was backed by Bitcoin. Their reserves were mostly Bitcoin that they had to sell off. I mean, you don't want, the Bitcoin is volatile. The stable coin is meant to be stable. That thing dip. Like if you peg the dollar to Bitcoin and the Bitcoin dips and you're dealing with, you know, we get 2-digit inflation, which might be sooner than later. That just sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Let's keep it going. What else?
Right.
What else do we have? This is an important one. Let's go ahead and round.
Yeah, because okay. So I have a question, right? And Trek, especially for you, right? Check this out. So if something is a limited supply, right? It's a Bitcoin, of course, limited supply. That's what I'm talking about. And if essentially it would sound like if we're using the Bitcoin as a way to back the dollar, we're just saying that we want to stay within our budget, right? Same thing with the gold standard. And so I'm trying to figure out why that will not work. Why you think that may not work compared to what we got now.
Okay, so now, all right, here's the thing. I just thought of this in 2 ways now. One, here is the protocol side of it. Like, are we talking about the technology and that as a payment?
No, we're talking about like from a I guess monetary policy standpoint.
No, what I'm saying is, I'm kind of running down a little bit more on the mental exercise part of it. Throwing out the tech side of it, looking at it in regards to use case. Yeah. Bottom line is, governments are going to shoulder tap and be gang. That, like, for as much as we can argue out through economic, models and different examples.
True. Okay.
For
I see where you're coming from.
Why sound money, as far as having a limited, like verifiable, like we know that it's only this much, and then you're going to use the currency off of the money and there's a difference in the currency and money, right? For how all of these governments have been operating over the last over 100 or so years, and being able to introduce debt as a financing mechanism, because there was no hard or sound money as the backing thing. Hence why everyone, like, you know, enough persons in charge agreed to get off of gold, right? And now look at where we are. Look at how countries' economic systems scaled from going through the agriculture age into the technical age into now like the digital age. Businesses scaled ridiculously fast off of that. I'm not necessarily saying this is a bad thing or a good thing. I'm just saying I'm looking at the behavior pattern, and this is what governments who try to hold their economic sovereignty do. They don't run or work well at scale when they have a hard or sound money, because even if you're the one doing it, it's like in the military side of it, right? Like, just because you're the one practicing like all the rules of military engagement, it don't mean that's what the other person doing. It's the same thing in this economic thing. Just because you're doing something based on your money having more soundness to it. Now, arguably, there's some things going on right now in the bigger geopolitical thing, like what Russia and China are doing and how they've been collecting gold and other precious metals like for the last like 3 decades. But they're not completely leaving the current debt form of financial instruments to like just solely run off of their currency and their economic setup being based solely on gold, solely on precious metals. They're doing like a hybrid kind of thing.
I'll interject with this, few things. First and foremost, it's still Friday, holiday weekend. So make sure if you got a drink or a beer, folks, get after it. You know how we do at TGOC. I should have put that in the email. My bad, everybody.
You should have let me know that ahead of time.
I'm drinking water.
To the kitchen quick.
There it is. All right. Next, I will say this. So 2 things that I wonder when it comes to Bitcoin. You mentioned gold, so I want to bring up gold. Couple things. First of all, gold's price isn't fixed. It's never been fixed, and we were able to use gold to back Bitcoin. And then second thing I would say is, why does it even have to be fixed? Like, you know, tomorrow it might rain. We throw in a raincoat, rain boots, umbrella. Next day it's hot as hell. All right, we in shorts. The next day it's a hurricane here. It's a thunderstorm there. Like, we adapt and we change every day. So why is the price of Bitcoin, especially, you know me, I think Bitcoin, it will be volatile until it matures. And I think the only way it's going to mature is not going to be a time thing. It'll be an adoption thing. Until a large percentage of the planet adopts it, it will be volatile until that day really happens. So I think we have years to go as far as its maturation. So while we're waiting for that to happen, like I said, gold to me really wasn't fixed. And then right now with Bitcoin, like, why does it even need to be fixed? What are you guys' thoughts on that, in addition to if we could even use Bitcoin to back a dollar? Ocean, I think. Oh, go ahead, Steph.
I think a lot of it is about control. You know, you have this borderless and this whole thing. And when we live in a global world now, everything is super connected. And each country has put in so much work. Like, let's just say each country has its own proof of work. But in a way, we're also cheating by doing a lot of proof of stake by just printing any kind of money anytime. So the reason why I think it should work eventually, though, is that we can all be on the same standard, but it will not work also because every country has their own level of production, their own level of proof of work. So you cannot now say the US economy, you want to compare that to that of some country in Africa and use the US dollar. So that's the challenge that we have, which is one of the reasons why, you know, the Brentwood Agreement said, let's use the US dollar because the US dollar was the biggest GDP provider at the time. But then China says, oh, I can cheat. I can do the same thing you're doing. I can print as much money and loan that money to Africa that I just printed out and compete with America. So it's a big fight. But in the long term, yes, it makes sense to use Bitcoin. In the short term, the people in power want control, and they want full control of their own borders and even other borders if they can, just to take their resources, which is where the challenge is. Leadership, control, and resource grab, which is why it's not gonna happen.
Ocean, I thought you were saying something about the gold. What's going on? What are your thoughts?
No, I was just saying that the supply of gold, is kind of like the supply of diamonds. It's not exactly, who knows what it actually is. But to go back a little bit further, just to round it out with the billionaires, you can throw Bill Gates in that category too.
True.
And he's somebody I would consider somebody made money within our lifetime kind of thing with Microsoft. But I mean, the technology that people use for these systems are, PCs and Macs and all kind of things like that. So I feel like indirectly, a lot of these people are invested in crypto. You can take Warren Buffett, he's invested in that bank in South America that it's crypto friendly. I can't remember exactly the extent of, I can't remember the extent of it.
Hey, F y'all virtual background. You never know. Hey, keep guessing. Y'all never know what direction I'm gonna take it. We all in the same room together. It's all good. We in the boardroom right now. No, I'm with you, Ocean. Trek, what do you say? I know you got some pushback on what I said. What are your thoughts?
So when you say the price
wasn't fixed and Bitcoin has some time to mature, but hey, we can adapt every day. So what? The price is 30K, 25, 42. Does it really matter?
So when you say the price isn't fixed, are we talking about as far as the paper markets? Because I'm not saying I'm a precious metal bug, but from the things that I do understand, for the smarter people I pay attention to who in that realm, the paper markets is what really messes around with how the price of gold is right now. They'll take it up today, and then like come Monday, crash it down by like double what it went up today. I'm giving a really wild, exaggerated
example. I get what you're saying. You're
but
saying that, yeah, right, okay.
The paper markets, as far as how precious metals is looking, it's not about the actual hard assets. It's about people who are manipulating off of the paper side, which is why I arguably am against a Bitcoin ETF, because that's the direction that they're going to go in. Like you see what the pattern of behavior is, at least for me.
Who haven't we heard from? What are your thoughts? Dollar backed by Bitcoin. Can it work? Will it work? What are your thoughts? Who haven't spoke up on this one?
Oh, here's my thought process on this. I think that this can work over time, right? Because ultimately, at some point in time, we used gold as a means to back the dollar. I mean, we did that because it was that limited supply aspect of it, right? So when it comes to exchange, I think if everyone is on a Bitcoin standard, right, it's only as valuable as people would, I guess, deem it to be at that point in time, right? So if everyone keeps buying it, right, it keeps going up. Then we agree that is that price, and then that whatever rate you're at, that's what you exchange with your local currency, right? So I think that is a universal way for everyone to gain value. Using it day to day. Go ahead.
Can I throw something else out there?
Yes.
Doesn't that then just bring us back to like centralization as far as what the backing up, like, so
it's being backed by something that is decentralized, right? Because ultimately when we talk about a decentralization, it just comes from the way the network operates.
But in terms of economic fluidity for it's like saying, hey, y'all know what Swift is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like saying that same scenario right there. Granted, on the technology side, on the back end, right, there is a distribution of decentralized infrastructure. But we're talking about how people understand it on the front end of, the USD or whatever other currency you want to go with is backed by Bitcoin. And most of the folks, as we know now, know jack shit about what goes on the back end. And why is it that it has the security level, the robust network, and blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? So if you just know it at that point, in relation to the Swift metaphor, is just how the US dollar was like the funnel point for all of the other currencies going through for bilateral trade, wouldn't we be making that we'd be making that version of a crypto? Like that'd be a crypto version.
So I'll put it this way then. As long as we're touching fiat, okay, it's not going to work, okay? Because it's going to work if you're just on the Bitcoin standard, which means that we agree to trade in Bitcoin itself. Which is possible. I mean, I guess we just denominate everything in Bitcoin type situation, which again, I don't know how that would work.
Listen, folks, we are not economists. We just some people who've been in the space for
purposes only. Entertainment only.
We could be economists because the professional economists today are all wrong.
You know, I mean,
technically, go ahead.
Go ahead, Trent. No, go ahead, Trent.
No, I was gonna say technically, economics is just like a social science, or like mixing different couple of things together. It's not a hard science. So
exactly, and I think the only difference is Bitcoin is Austrian economics, while we're practicing Chicago School of Economics here, right? Where you can expand the balance sheet. So, and the one we've been using so far is put us where we are. So, I mean, some people could say, why not try something else? You know,
I'll tell you what, like that's one of those things where we could definitely talk about this all day in of itself because it's so crazy. I am going to keep it moving back to Davos in a second, but one thing I would say, Infinite Blink, which is a great question, is could the U.S. be desperate enough to try it though? That's the one where it's like curveball, but listen, they throwing the abortion thing out there for a reason. They don't got nothing to do with abortion. It got a lot to do with that rate rising at the same time. So I follow the money. I don't know. Getting back to Davos, though, let's see. World Economic Forum, for those who are joining. We just got done talking about U.S. lawmakers trying to shut down crypto, media outlets and billionaires talking down on Bitcoin. Now we're going to watch a short clip. Bitcoin is not going anywhere, some say, and I'm sure some of us definitely agree with that here as well. Let me see if I can bring this up. Let's see. Here we go.
Interested in your opinion. We're seeing cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin in particular, starting to be used as a form of legal tender in some parts of the world. Do you consider cryptocurrencies to be an investment or a form of payment?
I think they're both. And I think it's important to understand that different kinds of cryptocurrency are going to have different use cases and they're fit for different purposes. So looking at the two kind of OGs, if you will, Bitcoin and Ethereum, they're designed for different purposes, you know. And so I do think you're seeing Bitcoin because it's proven over time to be robust. It's volatile, but it's robust. It is not going anywhere. The idea that Bitcoin's going to vanish, simply ridiculous. Ethereum was designed for a different purpose. It was designed to have a lot of applications built on top of it. Now, as we see layer 2 solutions in Bitcoin, there's something called Lightning that's coming up. As we see it be less energy intensive and other things to use Bitcoin, I do think we're going to see more interest in adopting it as a form of legal tender in different parts of the world, particularly in environments like the ones of Central African Republic and El Salvador that do have volatile domestic currencies.
All right, Sheila Warren, thanks for being with us. I'll be back with more from the World Economic Forum all this week. Stay tuned to France 24.
Kate Moody there, and we'll be live with Kate.
All right, so you heard it there. I mean, that's kind of like the narrative that's been put out there because everybody who's somebody, I guess, on the mainstream circuit wants Ethereum to win so bad. But what are you all's thoughts on what she said? Do you agree with or disagree? I know we had this conversation actually speaking to CB. Shout out to CB News Network. Crypto Blood Trek is a feature there as well, a content creator there. But one thing we were going back and forth with last week is like, hey, do you spend it? Can you use it as money? Is it just a store of value? So on and so forth. But again, Bitcoin is not going anywhere. To some people, to others, they want it to die. What are our thoughts on Bitcoin? What are we looking like in the next 5, 10, 20 years? Whoever wants to pick it up, grab it.
Well, first of all, I think she was a bug, man. They weren't supposed to let her in the building because she's in the wrong place.
You said, what's that?
I said she was a bug, man. They weren't supposed to let her in the building. Yeah, because he's in there talking about Bitcoin. Like, it's not going anywhere.
Right.
Look, man, I agree with it. I think for me at this point in time, because most of the time, you know, people got to try to defend Bitcoin and explain what it's going to do or not do. And I think it was designed for exactly what is happening to it. They got to keep attacking it, man, because the moment it fails a test, then that's when it's no longer Bitcoin, right? So the way I see it, I think the more it's attacked and the longer it stays, you know, not dead, it just keeps proving the point that this is just, I don't know, one of those things that is supposed to be here. And ultimately the superior form of money. Put it that way. What
I
you
would like
guys
to
think?
add one thing to that. So I think that they keep throwing Ethereum in the conversation because Ethereum is already actually partnering with the World Economic Forum. Everyone needs to go look at the investors of Ethereum to see who is investing in Ethereum, because that will tell you a lot about the push for Ethereum to be that, not the currency, but the apps. They are like I forgot your name. Said earlier, they are pushing out with the they're pushing out with the freedom aspect of Bitcoin, the sovereignty, your security, your privacy of Bitcoin away, and bringing Ethereum more into the space so that Ethereum can allow them to continue to do what they are already doing and even have a lot more access to what they already have. That's just what I have to say. So each time you see them talk, you're going to see some Ethereum-like conversation coming up.
To piggyback on that, I kind of see they're kind of understanding the use cases of these different cryptocurrencies. Like she stated, Bitcoin has its purpose, Ethereum has its purpose, other cryptocurrencies have their purpose. But specifically with Bitcoin, you're talking about a trustless system, trustless, permissionless systems. And that gets rid of a lot of bureaucracy in inefficient governments, in my opinion. I think that the pushback on that is because the inefficiencies of governments pays people. You cut out a huge subset of inefficient workers. You cut out, just smart contracts. You meet these parameters. You have this, bam, this, when you get to that type of level, and I think it'll be that type of level in about 5 years, when you have more like your licenses being run on smart contracts, not having to go to DMV. But the reverse of that is that you're going to get rid of a labor force that is there to be inefficient.
You still muted, King.
Oh, King, you're mute.
Still muted.
We got hacked by WEF, man. They shut us down.
Oh, I'm muted.
They saw you jacking the title and tried to end the show.
It was, hey, listen, when we get some shows canceled and end, I can't wait for the day. Finally. I mean, can you at least throw the shadow ban public? Because right now it makes no sense on the private side. So I'd rather it just be like, no, yeah, we did shut y'all down today. So what? Do something. It's our private platform. I told you, I like my gangsters, man. I don't like to mix the two. Let's see. Christina Georgieva, the head of the International Monetary Fund, says stablecoins are not backed by assets. Stablecoins not backed by assets are a pyramid scheme, and Bitcoin may have coin, but is not money. So I want to go ahead and take a quick peek at this as well with some of her input. And it's crazy. I mean, my thing is, as you continue to watch these videos, and this is actually from the WEF as well, the World Economic Forum, literally watch the people who are talking to us. Like, they are by and large non-coiners. Like, let's get it right. The boomer generation who are into Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, who's been into Bitcoin and crypto, to me, were mostly developers. They're helping to actually build the architecture of the space. You have a few who are coming in as professionals investing, and then others are just trying to make their buck really quick and trying to mitigate risk. But I say that because when I'm seeing people at the World Economic Forum, we'll see a few different panels of these folks. Like, none of them are the target audience or people that are really using cryptocurrency technology as a whole and Bitcoin right now. So it's crazy they're the ones leading this conversation. But again, let's go ahead and check out World Economic Forum again. As IMF chief calls non-stable cryptocurrencies a pyramid scheme.
One big responsibility for all of us is to actually explain to people what is what. What is central bank digital currency? What is stable coin? What is the differentiation between real stable?
Listen, really quick, just off her faces and the way she's talking, like, she don't know what she's about to talk about. I can listen, you already know when it's like that. What is this? What is this? Don't try. Don't try it now. I can already tell she'll know what you're talking about.
Stable coins and non-stable stable coins, and what is crypto?
This is what I mean. Like, look at this panel right here. Look at this. Yeah, he's a coiner. Yeah, she's a coiner. Yeah, he's
Is he
definitely
awake?
a coiner.
Is he awake? The one in the middle? Is he awake?
Right, this guy right here. And I'm being funny. And who knows? Maybe they own more Bitcoin and cryptocurrency than all of us combined. Right? Highly doubt it. But
His name literally says Frazier on it.
But my thing is just like, these are the people dictating to a crowd of 15-year-olds buying Dogecoin on Robinhood. These are the people. It literally makes no sense to me.
We haven't done our job. When we look at stable coins, this is the area where the big mess happened. If
the big mess being Terra, they're talking about that.
A stable coin is backed with assets, 1-to-1, it is stable. When it is not backed with assets.
And really quick, I disagree with that. Just because it's backed by assets 1-to-1 doesn't mean it's stable, because as we saw, you can back it with Avalanche. You can back it with Bitcoin. Like, you can back an asset one. What about back an asset with a seashell 1-to-1? If nobody wants the seashells, and you really can't call that a stable coin, but we'll talk about it.
But it is promised to deliver 20% return. It's a pyramid. What happens to pyramids? Eventually, they fall to
shout out to her that
pieces.
see Terra as a pyramid, though.
And that is where regulation, Christine is talking about this segment, but regulating the stable coin.
Really quick, want to point this out. She literally called out why regulation is coming. Y'all want to have a pyramid scheme? Then gang gonna come extort. Like, what?
And that is where regulation, Christine is talking about this segment, but regulating the stable coins, ensuring interoperability of CBDCs, and recognizing that Bitcoin may be called coin, but it's not money. All of this we need to work on.
Really quick, what's even funnier about this? I actually just went to the wrong, I went back. What's even funnier about this, before we do a quick roundtable on this, is the fact that
every time I do an interview about cryptocurrencies,
you can see on the actual screen, it says the tragedy. Here it is. What is it? The tragedy of poor countries falling behind. Do you really believe anyone on this stage believes there's a tragedy of poor countries falling behind, at the same time saying Bitcoin, which has no barriers to entry, is not even a coin? It's not even a real asset. Roundtable, what are you all's thoughts on how she feels about stable coins, CBDCs, interoperability with stable coins, and then the impending regulations coming behind it because of things like Terra's pyramid scheme? What are the thoughts here?
They just want to get their taste, man. Plain and simple. They just want to get in, get a couple dollars, get rid of some of the other clowns that are in there, because realistically, some of them are rug pulls, some of them are scammers, some of them are not going to be here. So get rid of them, get rid of the ones that need to be getting rid of. Let them get their taste. Get on with it.
Want to give a quick shout out to Kit King, one of our newest content creators. We're going to get them on here hopefully the next week or so. Kent, what's the word? How you doing today?
Most definitely, my brother. I'm sorry I'm all late and whatnot. I was running around.
No, it's all good. We're having people join as they come. We can actually start. I want to start off with you, or not start, Ocean started, but let's get to you. Did you just hear that clip? What are your thoughts on stable coins and interoperability with CBDCs and her own output on that?
I think the entire idea of stable coins is kind of funny to me, because I feel like they threw the word stable in it just to try to be able to lure as many people as possible. Because when it comes to finances, period, right, there's nothing that's really super stable. Things change all the time. And so just even that idea of something being of a consistent value at all times, to me, is something that is facetious. And so just that idea alone to me just felt very like fishing, right? Like you're trying to get as many people as possible by just making that phrase like a clickbait phrase almost, and making people comfortable enough to be able to say that this is what they want to invest in or be a part of. So to me, just the idea of stable coins in and of itself never really made sense, because the whole concept is to try to get away from the current system that we have. So tying something to that system is kind of backwards to me.
There it is. What else we got? What else we got? Roundtable it out.
Yeah, I got like 4 topics right here. So in that video, she said they're not doing their job. And I think that's what they've always done. They've done a really great job at getting the entire global audience to believe their story. But fortunately for all of us, we had this thing called COVID-19, which has been a blessing in disguise, which gave a lot of people to self-educate, time to self-educate. And we need people to do more of that because they have the money, they have the enterprises, they have the national media, the mass media to push their agenda and their information out to you. And they've slacked on that. So you're going to start seeing a lot more information coming out from schools like MIT. MIT is pushing other blockchains. They're not going to give you the truth about Bitcoin. So yes, they're about to put on some serious fraud and some serious knowledge on the wrong stuff. The other topic I have is this whole Terra Luna stuff. I continue to believe I might be pushing out some unnecessary information out there that they need that Terra Luna situation to happen so they can use it as a scapegoat. And I always believe that that is, once they have that, they can also say, now we can push this type of regulations because X, Y, and Z happened. And that continues to be my issue with Ethereum. We need to work together as a community and stop messing each other up. And Ethereum seems to just be allowing more of that junk coin, Binance as well, into the space. We need to self-control. And we can do that. The technology allows us to do that. Regulations, they come in heavy. And they're going to either overtax people, they're going to find some way. And my issue is that they're going to use that to enforce CBDCs, which then gives them more control than they already do right now, because they're already saying, if you use Cash App, anything over $600, you got to report it for taxes and all that good stuff. CBDCs is going to get worse. You saw what happened to Canada. That's just the beginning.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And the last one is poor countries. That should have been my number one. I was born in Nigeria. I grew up in Africa. And the reality is this. The IMF, the World Bank, name them all, they don't give a flying F about poor countries. That is how they control them. So as long as they have, which is what they told at Nigeria, you cannot touch Bitcoin. You better freaking go do your own CBDCs, and then we'll use that to continue to control you. CBDCs is going to be the way they're going to use to still control the poor countries and pull out all their resources. That's what they've always done, which is why we have Bitcoin. We are trying to free ourselves from this lockdown, from this very, very small little group of elites. It's not even countries. America needs to wake up. It's not your country. It's just a little group of people that come up with this agenda and everybody just follow.
It can't even be more than 1,000 of these folks. Like literally, it's like a handful.
Facts. Okay, so can I jump on this one next?
It's all you. Go ahead.
All right, one.
It's about to get real spooky in a second, so let's go ahead and get to all this FUD.
Okay. So one, if you see me laughing, it's because I'm also I got another window open up and I'm in the comments on the live stream. So I'm reading some of the stuff, and Satoshi Slim be funny, man. He be throwing out liners.
Y'all see why it's hard for me? Like when I'm trying to read the comments live, like it's hilarious. The comments are hilarious. Chat.
Yeah, that's why he was like, where did Bitcoin touch you?
Yeah, where did Bitcoin touch you? Like that's always a question we ask people because it makes zero sense how they bang on Like, could you imagine? Well, you like iPhones? Like honestly, people were like that about iPhones. They're like that about email, iPhones, internet as a whole. But like, I like to just use the calculator example. Like, oh, why are you using a calculator? What is the calculator? Calculator. Criminals use calculators to calculate how much drug money they go. Bad guys, terrorists use calculators to figure out the percentage. Like, really? That's what we're doing today. My bad, Track. I get
no, judge me, bro. Because I gotta say, I actually like. When I heard you explain it the other day, I was like, yo, he right about the calculator metaphor. That shit is really good. Like, you're right. But as far as the lady from the Davos thing, like, I was listening to it. I was like, it goes to the same thing that we've been saying. Like, you got people who no one elects out here making decisions about how you, for the work that you're doing or how you're able to like spend and save and transport and hold and blah, 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 with what you like earned, aside from if you're doing, I'm gonna say certain illegal things, right? Like you ain't out here like taking lives and stuff like that. Like, okay. But my point being is that as far as like the European side of it goes, like you got folks out here who are not elected, and they telling you what you supposed to do. And we got the same things going on in the state. When you look at the SEC, when you look at who's on the Treasury, when you look at who's in the Federal Reserve, when you look at who sits on the OFAC board, right? Office of Foreign Asset Control. When you look at the folks that make up the DOJ, even looking at who's in the Supreme Court, it's not directly elected by the people. It's a nomination through the president's chain of folks, right? But like, you got folks who, I look at this situation now and I feel like baby boomers are the baby boomers and the silent generation folks who are still alive. They're setting things up to make the exit out, and then they're leaving every generation after, and I'm talking about on a global scale, to hold the bag.
I do agree with that. I think that is happening. Yeah. Like literally,
feels
right
that
now,
way
for sure.
Looks that way. Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, and the reason why I know too is because none of these people, like Kenny already mentioned, like none of these people are really not even for America, for any of these countries. They have multiple houses, multiple homes, multiple citizenships. Wherever the grass is greener, I got my money, I can go. Which is why I know. I mean, look at that TV show Billions. You know, you got they did this whole thing about Bitcoin, like it took over one of the seasons initially. Voting on the blockchain was a big issue. Paying people in Bitcoin for trades under the table and stuff. Like, as much as they like to push back against it, Bitcoin is good even for the elite. It's just that they don't even realize they will want it, which is crazy. And kind of you started on this as well, Kenny. I want to go to this video just for a second. And this is, again, more talk about stablecoins versus CBDCs, consolidation, collaboration, or a world without the other, where MIT essentially are saying they are for CBDC. So we'll continue the combo in a second. Let me just play a clip of this.
Side central bank digital currency and focusing from.
And again, and to be clear, what I meant when I said, look at this panel, this is a different panel, but the same panel. And what I mean by look at this panel, in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, even the top Don Dadas, right? You got Jahan Wu, ASIC mining and all this other stuff. He telling people online on Twitter, F your mother. You know what I mean? Like you got Andreas Antonopoulos. He gives around going speeches, and he is not afraid to let some profanity fly when he feels the need for it. Who else do we have? You got Mike Novogratz getting Luna tattoos. You got Mark Cuban saying bananas over Bitcoin, then Dogecoin, Elon Musk Dogecoin. Rest in peace to McAfee. He was pumping and shilling different coins. My point is that this is not the community. Like the crypto, like I get it, for the World Economic Forum, this suits them, no pun intended, but for the cryptocurrency and Bitcoin community, like I'm doing too much with a button up right now. Like we are hoodies, t-shirts, hats out, and not just the 20 and 30-year-olds and the teenagers. No, the 40, 50, 60 years old who are really into this. I mean, when we used to have Maccabee on, he was drinking as we get him on the live. Like Max Kaiser does what he wants, literally owns a news station. He's traveling from country to country. My only point, it wasn't a race thing and not even an ageist thing, really. It was just culturally look at them. They do not represent Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, yet they are standing here as the talking pieces for the entire community on a world stage. This is a scary thing to me, but let's let it run.
And just as a quick reminder, central bank digital currency is essentially digital fiat currency versus stablecoin, which is pegged to fiat or to an asset. What are we to make of the proliferation? I wouldn't say 1,000 flowers are blooming, but certainly 1,000 seeds seem to have been planted. Is it inevitable that we see consolidation, or how can we make sense of a world in which there is a multitude of stablecoin? Neha, I'll start with you.
Yeah, well, I think, initially we're definitely going to have competition as we try lots of different ideas out. It's, I think it's important to remember the space is still in its infancy, and we are still determining what the right technology stack is, exactly what the use cases are, how the platform might be used. So I expect we'll see multiple.
And this is what I mean, really quick, where? Who's the we and where's? The people to your left and right? Because the community has already decided it's Bitcoin. They've overwhelmingly decided for 13 years straight. So there is no competition. It's been decided. Again, this goes back to what the Stack team was saying. They're looking for control. They're essentially saying, we're still trying to figure out new ways to control this thing. We're trying to figure out new ways to own it, control it, and run it. And there will be competition because other countries will want to control it, run it, and do everything with it. But we're still trying to figure out the best way we can do it so we can beat everybody to the punch. But let's not play. Like, Bitcoin's working. It's here.
Different stable coins, they will compete. I do have to say, however, that I do think that ultimately a CBDC is really the answer. And
who would have thought?
Issuing a central bank digital currency directly, it reduces risk, and it allows the central bank to provide a public option for money, which it should. So I think that stable coins, certainly we will have many more of them for the years to come. But if CBDC does really happen, it is a better choice.
I mean, look, as far as we're concerned,
man,
like CBDC, don't get me wrong, it's fine.
It's a different
so, and that's what I was going to say, which is that the way we see the world is basically that it would really be unfortunate if you had a proliferation of fragmented networks that don't interoperate and communicate.
We call that on today's show the intranet, a fragmentation of a bunch of networks that don't work together. And she even said it herself, competition. Literally two people telling you what's going to happen, 3 in one day. 3 is a trend in the military. Track notes up. I said it earlier. She just said it. He just said it.
No, but listen to what she said though. What she said was about offering the public public money. She basically was like, yo, we're going to cut the retail level banks. So we're gonna do your job. Like that, and that's bruh.
Like one another.
Here, we'll get to. Let me finish him. Let me see what he got.
Value that needs to be delivered to the very people that badly need this is that if you use a wallet or you use any other wallet, that you have an interoperability layer at the core of the network that you use. And that's the way the internet works. It's it would be unacceptable if you would use Gmail and you couldn't send an email to someone with Yahoo Mail. But this is currently the situation. If you use a wallet app today, you cannot send a payment outside of a wallet app. I think in Europe, and I have to give credit to the European Union for that. With SEPA, if you're in a Eurozone bank, you can send money to any other banks, and it works quite well. But that's not true everywhere in the world. And so for us, really what matters is to figure out what is the right network to host those stable coins or CBDCs. Of course, we have an opinion on that. I think we bring a good technological solution to the network itself. And I want to really make that distinction between the network and the assets that are running on top of the network. Which I think could be issued by many different entities, whether it's central banks or the private sector in some cases. And I think that if we were to agree on a sort of standard and a way to move digital money around in this new era of stable coins and digital currencies, then I think people win at the end of the day. And so that's to me is really important.
Benoit. I think there is no preset course. I mean, when you try to think of the future of the, let's call it the monetary ecosystem, right? There can be quite a lot of diversity. It has to be a mix of public and private solutions, as the payment world has always been. Competition will be good, because that's in the first place a discussion on technology, how technology can help improve efficiency and financial inclusion. And technological change comes from competition.
That sounds like the winner of the group. He's like, no, we want competition. We want smoke.
Sorry to say that. So we need that kind of spur, that pressure coming from innovation in the private sector. But to kind of put it very simply, the more you move towards the core of the system, the more likely that you will see central bank money, because that's what provides stability to the system, and we care about systemic stability. We care about financial stability.
Okay, so we get the idea. Some people are for the consolidation of CBDCs and stable coins, trying to essentially make it one network. Other people are like this guy are saying, no, I like competition, and I could probably see why. He like, no, I want nobody else in my business. We can do it on our own. Roundtable, what are your thoughts? Will stable coins, CBDCs, we kind of already started talking about it. Do you see them consolidating, collaborating, or a world without one or the other? Like, especially when you talk about stable coins and the Terra Luna. I mean, we literally gave the government all the ammo they needed to go crazy. What are you guys' thoughts?
I think for sure CBDCs are coming, because everybody on that board seems to agree with CBDCs. It's just a matter of how are they going to compete with one another. There's going to be a challenge though. CBDCs is elites federally controlled, whereas that would impact the commercial banks that everybody use day to day. And they're already talking about wallets. So if everybody have their own wallet, they can bank themselves. But then your wallet is controlled by the federal government or the elites that control the federal government, which then becomes the bigger problem. We're just going to enter a much bigger mess. That's what I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Like, it was a while back. I was reading through, I guess, the operational manual for the BIS and the IMF and all the other three-letter people, and part of what I saw in there, right, is essentially kind of boiled down to, you know, we get to manage the money for everyone. No one gets to question us about it. We cannot be prosecuted, you know, all of that good stuff. So essentially, you have a group of people who just made themselves cold as ice. Oh, dude, this is dope. I like this. Dude, I get this. So you have a bunch of people who just made themselves like, you know, I guess, elite, right? And exempt from all the rules. And it's just, I think for me, man, the most difficult part for my mind is getting past the part where we have these people who are sitting there, not voted in by anyone, just deciding that this is how we're going to roll. Why do they get to decide what money is, right? And like you said before, people have decided, and people have always decided what money is, right? Up until we got off the gold standard. But I think CBDCs will happen for sure, but I just think that it's going to lose ultimately. You know, that's my stance on that one.
All right, class is in session. There we go. Who else?
Yes,
Who else got
there
something?
we go. Oh, dude, everyone is dance.
But, I even think about the other content creator on here, Rural Black. He talks a lot about the LCX tokens and how those are more regulated. Like, you know, they already know which coins they want to use. They already know which cryptos that they want, and I feel like it says just a matter of time. The competition to me is a healthy thing. You need to get rid of a lot of them. A lot of them do need to get out of the way. A lot of them do stifle innovation. So it's going to come to a point where they're going to compete. A lot of them are not going to be around. I'm looking to see if the stablecoin route is kind of tricky, because I feel like it's going to be a stablecoin that's going to kind of try to weave itself into some type of centralized government. So I think it's just going to be a waiting game, because this space is in its infancy. And these CBDCs that came out before from other centralized banks, all of them have failed or had their stumbling and roadblocks. So they just kind of look at it and see what they did wrong, reassess, and go from there.
Really quick for the next person, I'm glad you brought that up, because I love how they don't mention the issues that were present when the central bank got started. I mean, it's always an issue for everything, especially when you're trying to scale. So they don't bring up issues when banking got started. They don't bring up issues when we were on the gold standard. They don't bring up issues when we got off the gold standard and the president man got killed because of trying to get us back on it. They don't bring up issues. Well, what else do we have going on in this? I mean, there's a ton of things. Visa, when we started using debit and credit cards, checks, when we got off of checks, they're not bringing up any of these issues or problems they had with scaling education and technology, but because it's something they can't control and they don't like, they bring it up. Really quick, Young Ears, thank you. Said Brock Pierce was at Davos, and he's doing some great things, bringing politicians up to speed on the space. So shout out to Brock Pierce. We've had him on a couple of times, of course, when he's making that presidential run. Good dude. So I don't have like nothing negative to say against him personally, at least from what I know of him. But what I will say, as far as the crypto side go, the professional side, Brock Pierce is a good person to go spread the gospel. But even he, you know, he's starting to kind of, I won't say go toward the middle of the road, but let's just say not a Bitcoin maximus for the most part. I can see him kind of just to get along, go along a little bit, kind of okaying them and yes and all right, and just kind of sprinkling a little bit of that sauce on them. But I don't know, what else are some other thoughts here with consolidation or I guess the collaboration or the world without CBDCs and stable coins, as they were just talking about on stage?
All right, so I call them blue dogs, right? The basic idea is we got this saying about like how you can't teach an old dog new tricks in regards to marketing and branding. Science is generally, or anything techie is usually colored in blue, right? So I say blue dogs. This will be blue dogs. But I think that, let's say the first 2 or so iterations, especially the first one, is going to have a hard ass adoption situation. Why? Because of digital identity as one thing. And then they won't have enough of the regulatory things in place to force people to use it, right? I would argue that in this decade, we are going to definitely have a more harder line drawn between the people who understand how to maneuver and survive and thrive outside of the walled garden, especially if you are from a first tier, second tier country, and we have things like Apple Pay and Google Pay and all of that. And then, you know, you can do your Zelle from my bank to your bank. Like, go over to South Africa, go over to Chile, go over to like Uzbekistan, go over to the Philippines. They got banks there too, but they got a whole different type of setup, right? And like with all this talk, like, what is this, like over 5 years now about CBDCs coming down? It's more so a matter of they don't have at least some of the controls that they need in place. And I think it's off of the digital identity part, which kind of is what worries me about Ethereum and that new token joint, the non-transferable joints that Vitalik is now like pumping or pushing, that he created or whatever. I think that could be a blueprint for the digital identity based on a crypto blockchain or a blockchain itself in regards to Ethereum. Now, will it be the thing that lasts like 50 years down the road? I don't know, but I think considering how much recent cross conversations have been happening at the global level with World Economic Forum, IMF, and all of them, and like people within the Ethereum ecosystem, I wouldn't see it as a too far-fetched that maybe the first iteration of digital identity will involve something related in the Ethereum ecosystem, which could easily enough down the road be translated or connected into the CBDC thing. That's just me spitballing it out.
So what you're saying is that the government is going to use Ethereum as a new Federal Reserve to make a CBDC. That's a hot take. That's a hot take. Who else got some thoughts on this one? CBDC stable.
And I definitely agree. I was actually going to just piggyback off what Trek was saying, because I think that, you know, largely this is all about control. And so I see like exactly what he was saying as far as like it has to, you know, come down to them trying to secure some sort of digital identity and trying to make sure that they can monitor what is going on. I feel like in a sense, they're trying to get us as close to some sort of totalitarian style ecosystem as close as possible without it actually being called that or them saying that. And so Trek was, you know, spot on with the identity thing. And that's exactly where I think we're headed.
What else we got on the round table?
Yeah, I think he's spot on with that, because especially in the medical field, I know like they're going crazy with blockchain technology for medical info, which is pretty much similar to digital identity. So I think that's definitely coming.
Yeah, there's a company called Vuzix that's actually working on a lot of that stuff when it comes to the medical field and having everything be in one ecosystem so that they can actually monitor everything.
Cryptonomics says CBDC, Chinese-backed digital currency. All they're doing is changing the wrapper for U.S. nation. China was spearheading this over 10 years ago. Wow. And the Cryptonomics, I just sent the message too. If you ever want to create content, come on live. Let us know for sure. Satoshi Slim said Vitalik had a meltdown on live. They cloned him and it's already happening. I did actually see something recently. I didn't click on it and go into depth, but I did see he had some sort of what people would call a meltdown or something happen. I don't know what, but I did see that I'm not sure if he's questioning some of the things he did or just trying to figure out the new direction. But yeah, I did see that. What else? We got? L, any thoughts on this? L, stable coins? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, man. I think consolidation is inevitable. Like projects are going to die. Other projects are going to get killed off. And the big pockets already have, like they already picked their horses. I feel the big dogs already picked their horses in the race. And this is just a slow, steady trudge to weeding out the competition until we have what's left. I mean, and it's not going to be unified as in there's going to be 1, 2, 3. There are going to be numerous, but it's not going to be anywhere near as many as we're seeing right now. The same way you had Team Ethereum and then Team Neo. We see which one won out in the end with that one. But yeah, man, I think this is all just a reminder that they honestly have no idea what they're doing in this space. All this really shows me is that, look, we're taking whatever low-hanging fruit we could get. We're taking whatever easy, like single, maybe the occasional double, playing it super safe, going really slow because they don't know how to handle it. The IMF tells El Salvador, hey, you shouldn't have Bitcoin as legal tender. And then how many central banks was just over there for the Bitcoin Beach event? And then you have Central African Republic with their Project Sango, the crypto hub that they wanted to develop, with the World Bank giving them $35 million in grant funding to develop their digital infrastructure, yet telling them, oh, no, we don't mean that. Not that. No, you don't get any of this if it's crypto related. We didn't say,
they were niggas so quick on that.
We didn't say nothing about crypto. We said digital, not crypto. You didn't read the fine print, but this is just them scrambling to keep some semblance of control. It all comes back to control. They want to keep some semblance of control. So they put on this facade that, look, we're going to be developing this super effective technology, way safer than the volatility of the crypto assets, the crypto market that you're using right now. It's going to be super innovative. It's going to be seamlessly interwoven into your day-to-day life. You won't even notice the transition from the dollars and the I read them all the time. I got them on deck. But they use these things and they keep slowly drilling it into people until they slowly start to believe it, because that's what's always worked. But like you said earlier, like you mentioned earlier, the COVID-19, the great sitting is what I call it, because everyone just had to take a moment and sit down and actually just consider shit for once. The great sitting led to people actually sitting down and questioning stuff, questioning the news that they see every day, questioning the people and the things and the ideas that they had. And that kind of questioning leads to your eyes opening to the fact that these guys have no clue what they're doing. The people working in the field are still trying to figure it out. These guys who just jumped on it around 2018 when they saw how much people was making money without paying taxes on this stuff, they don't understand what's going on. That's why the CBDC is constantly failed. That's why they're allowing the stable coins to play out. In my mind, they're allowing the stable coin projects to play out so that they could pick their winner the same way they picked Ethereum low key, and then slowly, like under the table, back them and then just weed out the rest of them. So they're stalling.
So to piggyback on that, I absolutely agree with you what you just said about the stable coins or them trying to pick their winners. Low key, and this is why they're really pissed and why this regulation is getting stirred up. I think a lot of regulators, politicians, and all those high-level elites who are smarter than the rest of us and tell us what to do, I think a lot of them followed that tattoo Mike Novogratz got and jumped into Terra. Because for it to be a brand new project that was only offering, honestly, what was it? I don't even know, it was 20% a year or a month. What was it? Does anybody know, a month or a year?
Yeah, it was like 20% a year.
So 20% a year. So that's not even, it's not even like super crazy in crypto, but it was a mainstream one. I think Terra got a lot of regulators rug pulled. I think this is the first time they're seeing that eyes on head on like their personal bank account going from, oh shit, I just put 5,000 in Terra with like all my other buddies and now I'm up, who knows at the time, let's say they got in at that 40 cent or whatever price point and they rolled it up to $111 and then $117. Like, well, yo, I'm up $200,000, $300,000 on Terra right now, whatever. And then literally for the next day, after they didn't brag and told all their friends and family, yeah, probably be pulling out some Tether, buy a new car, new house, new boat, go on vacation. They told everybody they know this. Oh yeah, Terra's a new blockchain, stablecoin, algorithmic, buzzword, Web3, and then it crashes. And now they're looking like fools, like serious fools, which is why I think that we're seeing this enforcement step up where you're seeing like BitConnect wasn't in the news. BitConnect was not in the news. No one was talking about BitConnect like that. OneCoin, some of these other big scams, even freaking what's called Quadriga CX. Granted, it did make the main news cycle, but only on the print cycle. It didn't make the actual CNN and Fox and all that. And they got a Netflix movie. So I'm looking at all this stuff that didn't even make it to the regular news cycle, but you got Terra making it to the World Economic Forum from people who not even American. Sounds like a lot of people got rug pulled to me. Like, it sounds like a lot of people took an L. And that's why they're kind of pissy about a lot of stuff in this space.
I took an L.
How long do you think before we get a Terra documentary?
You know, I was just thinking about that as I said it. I don't know if it's going to happen only because
I want to be in it, man.
Is it? I mean, Quadriga had a lot of dynamics. Like Terra to me, like I said, I thought it was a layup as far as what it was. To me, it was a layup. It was kind of scammy. But outside of Mike Novogratz getting a tattoo on the TV screen, what else are we going to add into the movie?
Hey, the real question is how long before Do Kwon go missing like Jack Ma?
Hey, they said he about to go to North Korea for forever. Satoshi was saying that, talking about Vitalik, he was distraught that 2.0 is still not working as promised. Gas is still too damn high. And to me, that's the biggest thing especially when it comes to cryptocurrency and Bitcoin in this environment. A lot of people are the head of these projects. I've been screaming this since 2016, 2017 when we went public, but a lot of people are the head of these projects are developers. They are not businessmen and businesswomen. There's no knock on them. It takes a lot of skill to be a really good developer to come up with a project that has all these buzzwords you never heard of, but they're not good CEOs. They're not good business people. Like, they don't know how to monetize stuff. They don't know how to scale, and scaling is one of the biggest things in this space, which is why I always say I don't even pay a lot of these coins attention until you hit the top 10 or the top 5 for months on end, because now it's like, okay, now you have to scale. You have to deal with regulation. You have to deal with hackers. You have to deal with all this stuff that you never had to deal with when you're number 130 or 200 and something. No one knew who your name was. So I think, yeah, Vitalik is being caught off guard when it comes to scale, as many people in this space are, which is why, to me, Bitcoin is still one of the longest, strongest chains, because they have so many good developers working on that scaling issue. But I don't know. What are some of your other thoughts? Again, we're talking stable coins, CBDCs. Anybody else got thoughts on that one?
I was doing a little bit of research, right, and some history stuff, just looking at the production of money and when we left the gold standard and whatnot. And I was trying to answer this question as to whether or not I believe that, Luna is the new continental dollar, right? Which failed because it wasn't tied to anything, whereas these things are now tied to something that's still not tied to something, right? Pegging it to the American dollar is still not pegging it to an actual physical asset, because the dollar in and of itself is only as strong as the actual country. So I was just doing that, and I was really just trying to see, like, is that something? Am I grasping at straws here, or does anybody else feel like there's a similar pace with what happened with the continental dollar back in 1776?
I definitely see what you're saying, and honestly, think of it. I didn't even think of it that way. That is where they're hoping something like Terra can work based literally off the strength of multiple countries' militaries type of deal. Like, this is working because we're telling y'all it's working. I get what you're saying with the continental dollar. Any thoughts on that, folks?
Yeah, I just think things are a lot more transparent now, and would happen a lot much faster, which is why we see what happened with Terra Luna. Because of its blockchain, which is another one of the advantages of why everyone is talking about blockchains now, we're able to see all the activities and what happened. And I think that's the key differential. It's literally proved that it was nothing the entire time, even though there was a really good sales pitch behind it, and the algorithm behind it totally failed, which goes back to the old proof of work situation. You cannot proof of stake the Bitcoin. You know why? Because that's how they're going to eventually take control of Bitcoin. Which I'm sure you guys saw all those articles about why isn't Bitcoin going proof of stake. This is exactly why Bitcoin should not go proof of stake.
I don't even think they can if they wanted to, though. So it's just, I think when I saw that, I just kind of saw it more proof that these people don't know what they're talking about. Just more of the ignorance on their end.
And after it's all mined, then what? After all the Bitcoin is mined, then what? Especially when it comes to just talking about the deal.
Then you have the full.
Energy, but it's after it's all mined.
Hey, I'm with the older generation right now. When it's all mine, we'll be dead. Hey, y'all turn. Y'all figure this out.
Yeah.
One
Look, like
thing,
this.
one thing when I think about the future of Bitcoin too, and again, gotta shout him out, Crypto Blood CB. Make sure you all check out his channel too. He does great things over there. Again, Trex a host over there as well. But one of the things when we were talking about Bitcoin in general, and can you spend it? Do you store it? What happens? Will quantum computer happen? What happens when you mine the last Bitcoin? What happens when governments do this in 50 years? My thoughts around a lot of this, since I do look at Bitcoin specifically as a technology, is that I'm assuming our technological curve will catch up. So by the time we mine the last Bitcoin, I think 20 years prior, maybe 10 years prior or something, whoever's here will have figured out the next idea. And that's even we're still using Bitcoin. I don't know, right? Who knows what the technological landscape is going to look like in the year, 2140? Like, I mean, who knows what's going to look like in the year 2050?
Let's not forget we have layer 2, right? Just like the internet. Remember internet in the early days? You could literally just go there and read something. We didn't have any transactions.
Who thought we'd be doing this shit on the internet right now?
Exactly.
This is true.
Bitcoin right now is just like the internet or electricity when we first had electricity, right? So let's remember that we just have layer 2. We've not ever talked about other layers and all the other capabilities that you can do on the Bitcoin network. It's basically everything. It's money, it's policy, it's literally everything. I don't even know what else to add to it. So the way I look at Bitcoin right now is that even when you finish mining it, you still have sats. Now, my question is, can we use stats to manage the old inflation and deflationary aspect of money right now? Because when you have a limited amount of money, you don't have the feds, who's some private agency, controlling what the value of your money is going to be. Maybe we can eventually reach some balance. But the issue with that is that we cannot just start blowing shit up and printing money to do whatever we want to do. We have a limited amount of Bitcoin to use, which will not have us utilizing more sats. So we got to think about all of that. Technology for Bitcoin is just starting. Imagine us having the amount of developers on Ethereum on Bitcoin right now. That's going to be major.
And to go back to what King was saying about how his kind of suspicion is that the politicians got involved with Terra and got rugged. We were talking about earlier, like Terra to me is the first kind of crypto bailout. The things that they're proposing, doing the snapshots of who had Luna before it crashed.
Not to interrupt, Eric, get insurance paying out people.
Yeah, they're going to do an airdrop for that. Even people who bought it after it crashed. So, I've never seen a bailout like that before. I mean, I've seen crypto companies.
Would you say that is the first bailout or the other bailout when they rolled back the first Ethereum blockchain? Or was it Ethereum?
I was like, nah, because they've had other airdrops like that, but I don't think they were of this magnitude.
This is the most recent of this magnitude for sure. I get what you're saying. And even there with the Ethereum bailout, well, I guess technically they did, but they forked it, dropped it. I'm trying to think. I guess I get what you're saying, but definitely this is the biggest of this time period. I'm with Ocean on that one. I mean, and again, this whole thing with Terra is crazy. We've been talking about it a lot, so we won't go too much into it. But I mean, you're looking at Terra Classic. Look at the market cap still. Like people, the community, and this is all I meant by proof of concept. I hope it doesn't happen, but I would not be surprised this is the actual USC. I wouldn't be surprised if we woke up one day and literally it was institution XYZ, like, yeah, we'll buy it up. Like, we'll buy it up. Terra 2.0, we're investing in it because they'll give you whatever BS answer, but the real answer will be, we saw the market cap before. We know you guys are going to throw dumb money at it, and we're just going to make this thing look as pretty as possible and get that price point high. So who knows? I want to listen to this the last couple of people, because they were going around this panel, see the last couple of comments, what they had to say.
Over the last 20 years, that has never been a system.
When we think of those use cases, cross-border payment efficiency and costs, financial inclusion, rooting out illicit finance, it's clear that public policy will have to be involved. Regulation will have to be involved. Minimally, regulation to prevent money laundering, right?
But there you go. Got to protect you. Hey, look, I'm smiling. He's smiling too, as he say. Oh, I'm about to sell these dumb motherfuckers on something new. Here we go.
And regardless of whether it's digital or the physical world, you've got to regulate.
And again, this is what I mean too. Not to be funny, this guy looks like he's needed regulation his whole life. He needed a hall monitor. He needed the principal. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. He could be the toughest Don Dada on his side of the Mississippi, but I highly doubt it. And again, this is what I mean by professionals coming to this space. And I don't even know who this guy is. So hopefully I'm not talking about Satoshi himself. But to me, this seems like he's one of those people that came into space, want to mitigate risk, not really building anything, just want to figure out how to make more money and regulate.
It's not obvious that the public sector also needs to be the provider of either the infrastructure or the constructs on top of the infrastructure. So either provider of the rails or the constructs that run on the rails. It's not obvious. You need regulation, certainly. Just bear in mind that
do it.
We do want to have an open and interoperable system, nationally and especially internationally. Central bank digital currencies are not constructed to be interoperable. They're not necessarily interoperable. They're separate national stacks. So just bear that in mind, that the distinction between public and private is not a distinction between open and closed. There are actually 4 quadrants there. And you want to be in the quadrant which is open and interoperable, well-regulated, but also one that encourages innovation, both in the rails as well as, very importantly, in the constructs. Beware of
To me, you can't have innovation and regulation at the same time. Like how?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing is they're trying to regulate something they don't even understand. That's the part that's mind blowing to me.
It's crazy, and that's why I keep smiling. This is really quick for those listening. This is this military PR real quick. When you look at people speak, I forgot the actual name, but it's called like it's like a Freudian slips. They give you these micro
expressions.
Micro expressions. Exactly.
Yeah, Freudian slip. Yeah.
I am really good at reading micro expressions. People I'm telling, I do like I'm so good at it. I love myself for it too. It took years, but literally this is a micro expression right now. That's why every time I pause, he has like this little slight grin because he's literally telling you, oh yeah, the public don't need to do this. This should be regulated government. And as you even said, he doesn't even fully know what he's talking about. So it's kind of crazy.
Are you guys familiar with the GPP, the Global Private Partnership?
What's that
program? Are you guys familiar? Are you familiar with the GPP?
I've heard of it.
So it's a Global Private Partnership program, right? So this is where IMF, World Economic Forum, World Bank, and all these guys have this private-public partnership. But the private gets to tell the public, like the private innovates, but then they tell the public to push the policy of what the private companies have pushed. These private companies are very, 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 very elite, very, very small amounts. The Amazons, the Googles, the Microsofts, folks like this, right? And I feel that this is what I'm hearing from him right now, is that we're going to push some kind of private company. One of these cryptocurrency spaces are going to win the case or win the battle, right? And then we'll have them now push the regulations, and tell you what the regulations are going to be.
You mean like how the internet got started?
Hey, blockchains got started by the government, so you got to remember that.
Al Gore's internet? Which internet? Al Gore's or?
I'm just saying, like,
this is all I'm saying. Hey, this is all I'm saying. The last guy who made a pudding pop face we couldn't trust. All right, just look. He wants his goddamn pudding pops, and he wants them today.
And think about what happens not in peacetime, but in crisis.
Does he not? Hold on, go back. This is not like just say pudding pops in your head.
I'm hearing it. I'm hearing it when I look at it.
Here it is. Pudding pops.
Of unintended consequences. And think about what happens not in peacetime, but in crisis.
Think about what happens in crisis. In crisis, you bail out the big three. My family's from Detroit. They got laid off while you bailed out car companies, President Obama. Think about times of crisis. 2008 financial crash, because our own regulators decided, and private companies decided to rate people's mortgages higher than what they should have been. People were in homes they didn't or weren't supposed to be in. And what do? We bailed out banks. So when you're talking about financial crisis, again, this dude is not being honest. And I actually give everybody on these panels, I give them credit. They all gangsters. Like, this is to me what gangsters look like. Literally lying to the World Economic Forum. I'm gonna lie to you with a straight face. I mean, it don't get more gangster than that.
Happens when you have
And a suit on.
With a suit.
In one bank or a few banks. If you have a central bank digital currency, I'd be fairly sure that this, on the one hand, it's very, especially if it's a retail currency, right?
Yeah, we've heard enough. We get where he's going with it. What you have for us, Ocean?
But I was making a pudding joke. But back in late March, the World Government Summit happened. And one of their big provisions they talked about was blockchain and CBDCs. And I think the chairman is Kevin O'Leary, the guy from Shark Tank, if I'm not mistaken. He was definitely one of the featured speakers, but I think he's the chairman over the world government. So you have the World Economic Forum, which is the IMF and this, the world central banks. And then you have the world governments meeting too. And they're saying the exact same things. We need a CBDCs, we need this, and then they throw out the buzzwords again, but it goes back to how can you regulate a trustless, permissionless system? Interoperability is one thing, and then, we're seeing in just the crypto space on our own, the vulnerabilities and exploits through wormholes and interoperability cryptos. So again, they're just trying to, they kind of got a playbook of what they want, and they're just trying to figure out which pieces are going to go through it. And they're going to try to go through it through competition, get rid of the ones. And like you said, kind of go behind closed doors and say, okay, y'all have proof of stake, but we can invest in this one and be the dominant super representative on this blockchain. And this is what we're going to pump, and this is how we're going to do that.
There it is. All right, we got one more quick clip I wanted to show. And we'll do a quick roundtable, get last kind of comments and thoughts. We'll call it a night because we do have Critically Crypto here next talking NFTs. So let's go ahead and check this out for a second.
Into the consequences of any of these kinds of opportunities. But I
speak.
Too many tabs.
I seen her.
I want to
really
shift us a little bit. We've been implicitly focusing on currency as a means of exchange. But there are other very critical, I think, and important uses of currency as a method of sovereignty. And I mean sovereignty in two different ways. One is sort of the ability for governments to engage with each other. And this gets crudely described as, say, the sanctions issue, but also as a means of celebrating or preserving culture. And that's often quite literal. I mean, in many countries, you literally have your sovereign, your royal, printed on your money. But there are also just other sorts of cultural aspects to that exchange in cash that could lead to actually quite profound changes in the way that we think about interactions with each other. So I'd love to get comments from anyone on the panel about those concepts. Aldous, perhaps we'll start with you.
So she's talking sovereignty, I guess nation sovereignty, and using Bitcoin and crypto assets as well. So I'll be interested in hearing that. But also one thing I wanted to broach that she said at the beginning, again, we had this conversation last week. Trek, you know where I'm going with this. Sovereignty with nations using Bitcoin, but also, is Bitcoin spendable, people? Do you spend it, or we just store it until the day comes where it's mature enough and it's this store of value? I say, hey, if I buy a new Ferrari, that mofo is getting driven. Them new J's is getting worn. I might go hooping them, all right? Like, that's what it is. You keep working, you buy some more J's. I don't know what to say. That's my thoughts. But quick roundtable, what do you think about Bitcoin and sovereignty when it comes to different nations? If you want to attack that, or you just want to answer, is Bitcoin, do we spend this or do we just store it? Is it store value, or can it also be used as currency? Go ahead and jump it off. Whoever wants it.
Trek, man, I know you look like you about to kill this, but let me just start by saying this, man. We start right now. And first of all, clearly I'm African. You can tell by the accent and everything like that. Okay, so let's talk about sovereignty when it comes to I guess monetary policy for these people, right? You have people like, when we look at post-colonial countries like France, right? Every French country pretty much that is in the African region, right, colonized by France, they have to hold their reserves in France. France is holding their reserves, right, about 80% of it. And then they get to control how much these countries can borrow. They can trade with other countries directly without going through France, and France has to approve it. Most of the time they will deny it. If there's any sort of progress, right, the French will come back through and debase their currency. If a president tries to change, because they're able to do this because these countries are using the French franc, right? So when these countries try to create their own currency, the French will come in and take out the president. Right? You can't do that. So when we're now in a place where you have this Bitcoin that these countries can jump on and not get, pretty much destroyed or manipulated like they have for the past couple of years. I mean, the IMF, all of these people, they give loans to these countries, loans that they can't pay back. Then now they own your country. So I think Bitcoin is kind of like at this place where it provides a unique opportunity for people to escape that. I'm pretty sure every African wants to. We're in a point in time when technology is getting to people faster than information is getting to people faster than ever. So I'm trying to envision an environment where young Africans choose to use a CBDC and continue to be suppressed by these, colonist countries over I don't know, Bitcoin and everything that it provides. Can you spend the Bitcoin? Absolutely, you should. That's the whole point of it. Because at least if there's one thing, if you're holding your Bitcoin, the value is going up versus holding the dollar or any other fiat currency. If you're in a third world country, the inflation is through the roof. So really, are you really holding cash? What are you holding? Why would you not spend the Bitcoin? That's how I see that.
A great take on the sovereignty too, because again, this is my biggest issue when I run it. Like again, we're dealing with businesses now at this point. Businesses and institutional levels. Zay is working with the mayor. I'm working with institutions. Like we work with record companies out here in LA now, all this other stuff. And that is one of the biggest things. They're literally just like, well, money works. I can do a wire. I'm like, be oppressed and use it. And then, really quick to call back to Bitcoin, Zay's book, Bitcoin Black America. How are you going to protest in a country but use their currency? All right. Who else had it? Who else next? Go ahead. If we spend it, saving it, sovereignty, what's the word?
All right. So this goes to something that this is where me and CB butt heads on. That whole thing about the spending side of it. And I always take it back to, I'm Andrasian in my school of thought of, I can't tell you what crypto you should or should not touch. Like I know folks who found Ripple before they found Bitcoin. There's folks who jumped in now who found Avalanche and never even heard of Bitcoin or even knew there was a white paper, right? I jump back one and go at the tech level of it. And the way that I look at it now, it's like, listen, private companies can do what they want to do. Governments can do what they want to do. Criminals can do what they want to do with it. And the regular citizen can do what they want to do with it. And whether that be you're saving it, you're using it as a hedge, you're using it to control your population, you're using it for some black ops, whatever, like it's open source technology. It's supposed to be open to everyone. In my mind, that includes the people that we don't like, but guess what? It's open enough that, hey, I don't want to deal with your network, or I don't want to use it in your, your version of whatever it is you coming up with, whether it be a CBDC or whatever funky ass stablecoin idea you have. Guess what? I don't got to fuck with it. Bottom line, I got this stuff over here. I got my network of people over here, or like elements, not elements, but my networking community over here works for what I'm down with. Bump it. I'm good.
You can have a local economy
and save it.
Let me quickly add to that. So if y'all remember the internet, right? The protocol in which the internet works on is the TCP/IP, right? The old OSI model. During that time, that was UDP, that was all these different type of technologies that was competing with TCP/IP, right? That is exactly what's going on right now, is that some of these models, these blockchains, some of them will survive and go into their own little unique space of what they do. But if we're not careful and we'll let folks like the World Bank and MIT tell us what the technology of the blockchain is, they will push us to those other blockchains. What we got to know is that we got to do our part and making sure that the voice get heard, that spend your Bitcoin if you don't have to, at least make sure that the what you call it, the functionalities are being displayed to the entire world, that this thing is capable of doing what it can do. And there's no way to show that than to spend or use it or write programs around it. So if you're a developer out there, definitely write programs around it. Because if you want to keep your sovereignty, just remember, like your phone right now, the government have all the access that they want on you. Forget it. They got everything. Facebook, Google, everything. They're just selling everything out. We've lost everything. And we now finally have a chance to get it back. And Bitcoin gives us a chance to fight back just a little bit without going to literally war. And that's just the word I just got to put out there. You want your sovereignty back, where the bank cannot just shut, like, for example, right? My bank account goes below a certain amount, I get a fee. Like, it's my money. Why the hell are you charging me for me to spend my money? That's all I gotta say.
You mean why are they charging you for being broke? Is what they're saying.
I'm spending my money on Bitcoin, man. Hey, my paycheck comes in, it's gone.
Well, what's crazy again, I always tell people I don't leave much money. I don't have a lot of cash. Usually is what I bring in. I have in cash. Sometimes I have more, but usually I DCA so freaking hard. I won't even say DCA. I'm just like, at the end of the week, some days at the end of the day, I'm like, all right, how much cash I got? Time to go all the way back in, people. So I am like that some days. But with that being said, I'm making this point because sometimes I get hit with overdraft fees because it's like I don't leave money in most of my accounts. And it's always hilarious to me because I'm like, they are really still charging in 2022 like $35 overdraft fee. And thank God it's not a stressor to me. But I do remember the times when I was younger and it was a stressor. Early 20s, hit me with a $35 overdraft fee. I'm like, man, my whole month, I might do something to mess up my whole life. You know what I mean? Like, this is a big deal at the time. And now when I look at it, it's like, okay, just did a Bitcoin transaction to, Antonio was on earlier from the UK or lives in Bali now, or Leroy's in Baltimore or whatever. We're all doing transactions and stuff. And it's just like, my bad, I didn't mean to dox you out. I'm in LA though, so come get these. Hey, come get it if you want it. For anybody out there. But no, it's just like one of those things where it works. It works, and you're sending transactions across the planet. And after doing 30 transactions on a week, you've spent, I don't know, $4 or $5 max in fees. And literally is like, yeah, I do a wire transfer and it's $24. I don't have enough money in my account. That's $35. It's kind of crazy when you think about, like, that is a high return rate. Like, water costs $1 until you enter the arena, then it costs $9. Like, that's the same thing to me. $35 for not having money in your account. and they use your money to invest in other things. That is mind-blowing and criminal at the same time. But I'm gonna stick to the topic because we only have a few minutes left. Sovereignty: can Bitcoin be used as cash? Or I guess, can Bitcoin be used as currency or as a store of value? Who haven't we hit yet? Kent, what you got for us?
Man, listen, I got a couple of rules when it comes to Bitcoin. I spend it when it's high and I buy it when it's low. I think about how many hours it's going to take for me to consume as much of it as I possibly can. And so I consume it while it don't take me as many man hours to consume it like right now. But when it's high and I know I can get my bang for my buck, like when we was in Miami, I actually bought my first bottle in the club with Bitcoin. That was when I did that. And it felt both amazing and irresponsible at the same time. But I was like, you know what? I'm here. I'm doing it. It's a Bitcoin conference. We got to do it now. Let's do it. And then I went home and I was like, I shouldn't have did that, man. I could have had so much more BTC right now. But that's my rule of thumb, man. You know what I mean? I spend it when it's high and I buy it when it's low. That's it.
There it is.
I got a Cash App that I use just for the Bitcoin benefits that are in there. And so if I am going to spend the Bitcoin, for the most of the Bitcoin that I have is on cold wallets. I don't keep a lot on hot wallets because I'll be tempted to do other shit with it because I'm a DGen. But in that Cash App, I'm not paying attention and I spend some money all month getting my Bitcoin rebates. And I go back in there and it's a few dollars in there. Yeah, I'll spend that easily. I have no problem with that.
All right. Who else we got?
Yeah, I think it's realistically looking at it, it's situational. There's no hard set best rule for should you spend it, should you save it. It can do both. its core function allows you to do both, and you can tailor how you use it to whatever that specific situation is that you have. A lot of people here in like the first world leading countries, they don't have to worry about, I need to spend my Bitcoin. That's a luxury. It's a luxury right now. You can spend it. There are avenues for you to spend it, but you have stable currency that you can use for your day-to-day transactions. But when you take it to places that need to utilize Bitcoin, even if it's for remittances, people here in the States, that might be the only time they use their Bitcoin. They might only send it when they're sending some Bitcoin back home to the islands, back home, whatever their home country is. So, I mean, it's really both. I don't think there's any hard answer. I think everyone here has some different stipulations or guidelines that they use for when they want to spend it. Like me personally, I'm just going to save it until I have to spend it. I don't, but that's just me. That's the situation that I'm in. Someone else may actually need to, like, that's their day-to-day transactional currency. So, I mean, it can do both. So, like, let it do both. Yeah. And in terms of the sovereignty aspect of it, the majority of the market right now doesn't give a shit about sovereignty. If we're going to be frank, the majority of the market doesn't give a shit about sovereignty. So, I mean, we can, whenever we get to these talks about things like self-sovereignty, independence, self-reliance, responsibility, technically that's high-level talk, because the majority of the market doesn't care. They didn't come here for that. They came here because their barber told them he made 2,000. He hit a lick last week and he wants in. So, like, when the foundational understanding of the technology, when the foundational understanding of Bitcoin, let me say that because there's a difference between Bitcoin and crypto, remember that. When the foundational understanding of how this can be used, why it was made, and what it can be used for increases in that crypto market, then we can get more into the talks about the importance of sovereignty. But it's kind of a tricky situation, because now it comes down to, okay, are we going to get to that conversation in time before these larger entities already lay down the law? Because they're going to catch up in a sense. They're never going to catch the technology, I feel, but they're going to catch, like I said earlier, the low-hanging fruit, all of the citizens who don't feel like reading, or they just go to their town hall meeting and the mayor tells them, oh, well, we're using this now. Okay, I guess we're using this now. So it realistically looking at it, I think it just comes down to meeting people where they're at. What do you want to do Bitcoin for? What are you getting into this for? What do you plan on doing with it? If it's just making money, do whatever you want to do. If you're in a situation where you need to spend it, spend it. If you're in a situation where you can afford to keep it, hold it on the side, because whatever else you got is going to shit. So just hold on, ride it out.
I definitely enjoy all these thoughts and much appreciate. I would say, again, for me, I spend it. And I do like the distinctions you made. I do tell people, like, it's a little different because I am, for the most part, like 100%. And I work in crypto. We're here every day. We do this. So it is a bit different if I'm working with companies and it's like they're not saying I ever received it, but if you did ever get paid in Bitcoin, it's like, or crypto, it's like, well, I got crypto now. Again, technology is going to improve. I'll say this. There are already companies working on and developers working on cross-chain swaps, essentially the same way we saw cross-atomic swaps, but cross-chain. Once that happens, I think some chains won't matter as much. Even though they'll be flawed, they won't matter as much, because the flaws won't matter as much, because people will think, well, I can just swap it at any moment. But when it comes to purchasing or spending and stuff, I would say the only thing I regret all the time is, and again, this is the tough part about Bitcoin, knowing when to time it or how to time this market, right? But nothing feels worse to me sometimes than having 66K in one Bitcoin type, one Bitcoin 66K or whatever, or however much you have in Bitcoin, and you're not spending that money, you're not taking profit off the table. And then we do go through the bear, whether it's a few days, weeks, or an actual bear market, bear winter, and then it's like, well, we're at 30K. Like, literally, you didn't lose anything, unless I'm a Bitcoin trade, you kind of lost it. But no, seriously, you didn't lose anything because you're not spending it. But also, it's just like, as a and this is kind of looking at it from a trading than an investment standpoint too, to be fair. But looking at it from a trading standpoint, it's like, I'm gonna take that off the table. I'm gonna pay bills. I'm gonna buy what I want to buy. I'm going to keep working, and then when I get new capital, I'm going to buy back in with the expectation of dollar cost averaging, or moments like this when it severely dips, and like weeks like this, I'm like, I'm working hard. I'm trying to get a lot of money in so I can make up for anything I may have misspent. So that's my goal. Doesn't know if it's going to work out, because literally I could wake up in the morning and Bitcoin's at 120, 150K. Then I'll be crying like, oh, I spent some of it. I need to leave enough in it, right? Or vice versa. I can front load it with 110%. And then we go through another 2-year bear market. That's the part that has shooketh me because I've been through that 2-year bear market with like 100% of everything into crypto and rolled that mofo out. But it wasn't like the best time in my life. You know, it wasn't terrible. I understood it was a part of the journey and where we were going. I wasn't worried, but also it was just like, we could have took a lot off the top, and we decided not to because we just wanted to hold Bitcoin. So I'm with Leroy. It kind of depends on your situation, but I will say the good old days of 2016, 2017, I'm not going to lie. Zay and I used to almost every week look at the percentages. Like, we were working to get in that top percentage. I'll just say that, but we were a percent of Bitcoin owners for a while until that crypto winter hit us. And looking at it back then, I'm always like, man, we should just cash down and got the houses and cars then and got back in the market. But you never know where it could go, because it went aggressively from 1,000 to 20,000. No one saw that happen either. So with that, thank you all panelists for being here. Much appreciated. Again, for those who have never seen them, Kent King is one of our newest content creators. We're going to get him up and rolling hopefully in the next week or two. As you can see, he has great insights as well. Of course, thanks Trek with 2Ks. Catch him on Mondays, Weekend Crypto. Ocean, this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, he usually drops videos following the Tron ecosystem. He's doing amazing, as well as some other altcoin picks. Of course, I'm gonna save you for last. I wanted to show the newsletter real quick. The Stat guys, Breeze and Kenny, they're killing it. They're doing TA for us on Thursdays and Monday mornings. Of course, Thursday afternoons, they have a show at 2 p.m. PST as well. So make sure to check them out. And of course, Leroy, Crypto in the Caribbean and Crypto on Saturdays at 3 p.m. PST. And I'm going to show you all real quick. If you're missing it, again, you need to get this newsletter. He is the editor of our newsletter. He does them every week. People, they are hilarious. Like, literally every week, I haven't seen a bad newsletter yet. Look at that. We're back. He got the gifts and everything in there. And again, the newsletter is like a weekly wrap up of what's going on. If you missed anything, if you want to get it quicker, if you want to get that information quicker than seeing an episode every day, this is the best way to do it. And this is pretty funny. Shout out to L. I don't know Duquan, but let's give him the benefit of the doubt. It was a project that was poorly designed, as many projects are poorly designed. And he got Drake and I forgot the other guy's name. What's his name? Lil Yachty, Lil Boat in the gift there. So again, newsletter is hilarious. But one thing's for certain, and two things for sure. We're not gonna take it. What's that? We're not gonna take it. One more time. I am not about to be listening to a bunch of people. I'll just be respectful and say I won't listen to a bunch of people respectfully I don't respect. All right. So with that being said, this is why we need to keep creating content. We need to make sure we're plugged in, as well as our warriors. That's why we always throw that link in the chat, because we want you all to come on. And if you have something to teach, which is why we always talk shit to trolls. It's like, don't tweet me all day. Don't message me. If you really have something to teach to our crowd and we're doing something wrong, come on live or pre-record and actually teach it, so it's the information is spread. So we're all about that. With that, as always, thanks for watching. Make sure you smash that like and share. And coming up in 5 minutes is Critically Crypto with Crypto Bay Jay and Kaylee. They're going to be talking all things NFT. So if you're interested in all the NFT news, make sure you're on the lookout. Smash that like and share, and we will see you all back here in 5 minutes. Cheers.